Raghu, hi, good to have you with us. How have you been?
Fantastic, Ashu. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Raghu. Thank you for asking. It's a pleasure to have you with us. This is a session which is particularly been, uh, it's very interesting, right? And I've been looking forward to doing this session, with you. It's been long in the making, um, but I think, like I said, right, this is an important session, right? At many levels, largely because you are essentially working in a B2B ecosystem. While you are, you are at a very interesting intersection, right? As a company, that of a fintech and that of an enterprise SaaS, you are working with a lot of these businesses, retailers, distributors to improve their overall financial health, help them identify leakages, and then plug them into the financial ecosystem, right? So what you're really doing in the process is improving the overall ability of a business to handle structured capital, right? Which otherwise in India has been a big problem, right? I mean, when you talk to fintech founders, delinquencies, and especially in the business ecosystem, it becomes a huge challenge. And I think that's a very interesting problem that you're solving for, right? Which is improving the overall quality of business operations, right? Like I said, this becomes an interesting session in that context. But before we do all of that, Raghu, I'd love you to give us a quick round of a background to yourself at the start of the conversation, and we dive in from there.
Yeah, thanks, Ashu. 25 years into the software industry, started my life as a software engineer. I'm the second generation software engineer. Very fortunate to be in that state. I learned only one thing in life, which is to write coding. That was the language of communication in the family. Grew through the ranks, had a couple of failed startups in the past. In the last 3 or 4 stint, if you see, I was the global leader for automation and robotics with the BPM company known as EXL Service, post which I jumped to a company by name Actyv.ai Technologies. And then this beauty happened known as UiPath, one of the wonderful organizations I worked after EXL and Actyv. Fantastic culture, a lot of learnings. I joined this company when this company was 15-member people, less than $1 million in revenue and valuation. And fast forward, was fortunate to be there for 5 years and see through the listing in NYSE, which was a $36 to $40 billion listing. I joined them as the president and CEO for India and exited as the non-executive chairman for India. So had a fantastic amount of learning, hyper growth, and a lot of learning. So had the template in place, and that's the whole idea. And that's where Actyv.ai happened. And I also, I actually invest in multiple startups. I have a family office based out of Dubai and India. I have around 11 companies in portfolios, and driving with a mission that I should be able to create at least one unicorn a year. And for me, unicorn is not the amount of money I take. It's about the families that is being impacted, the 500 to 1,000 families, where we are going to help them become millionaires and fuel the overall global economy. That's the mission I'm driving with. Very happy to do it.
That's a beautiful, I think that's a beautiful dream, right? In many ways, and intent, I think, more importantly, to sort of have. I think it's just so much more important, to be in a position where you can, evangelize the cause for entrepreneurship. That's number one, and second, be in a certain form and way part of the overall value creation for, many stakeholders that are across these organizations, right? So a brilliant start, Raghu. Like I said, right? But this is a discussion where we're going to talking about largely about Actyv.ai. That's something that you're kind of leading from the front. That's what you're building. And I think while you could continue to sort of make an impact as an angel investor, right? I think there's a phenomenal amount of impact that you're creating by improving, how these businesses work and perform, right? That's just so much more important. Because when you talk about, retailers, distributions, right? SMEs, MSMEs, we talk about 47 million businesses, right? In some form or the other, in the country, that need that kind of a handholding, right? We still are a very traditional market in many ways. We operate in many ways. There are a lot of those intrinsic challenges that we kind of face, right? So we're going to cover all that through the course of the conversation. Raghu, I'd love you to give us a breakdown of Actyv.ai, right? At the beginning of the conversation, of course, I gave a little bit of context to it, right? But I'd love you to break it down in terms of, what is it that you're aiming to do? What's the model of engagement? You position yourself as a SaaS, and a fintech, right? How do you position yourselves in the mind of your users? That's number one. And number two, what's the sequence of activities, right? Is it fintech first, or is it SaaS improvement first, business intelligence first, and then moving into fintech? Would love to understand all that.
Yeah. Great, Ashu. Again, one of my favorite questions, right? What does the company do and what is the product all about? We are in a very niche space, in the current avatar, we are focusing on empowering the ecosystem around supply chain. And currently, we are focusing on India as a country, while we are having global ambitions, focusing on expanding to countries like Singapore, Middle East, and Europe currently. So essentially, what we are doing as far as the Indian ecosystem is concerned is we are working with a trinity. And this trinity consists of enterprise on one side, financial institutions on the other side, and the distributors and dealers. When we say distributors and dealers, these are the partners whom the enterprise directly work with. Whatever gets manufactured, has to be supply chained till the end user, right? So usually it goes from the key distributors to the dealers to the retailers, and from retailers to the consumers. So our entire orchestration starts from the enterprise, goes on till distributors, dealers, and retailers. We don't go beyond retailers. That is, we don't go to B2C. We are B2B or B2B2E. On the other side, we have the financial institutions. And what exactly we are doing is the top 3 product lines that we have, which we have put in a platform, is the end-to-end onboarding of the distributors, dealers, and retailers. That is part A. The part B is to do the financial health assessment and state-of-the-art intuitive scoring or the credit scoring of the distributor, dealers, and retailers. The third is orchestrating enterprise, the distributor, dealers, and the financial institutions for a B2B buy now, pay later. And this is the first in the class product, because while we're working with various banks, this product is not existing. We are the category creators of this product in India, where we are doing it in its entirety. We are not doing a myopic solution. We are taking it in its entirety, and we are doing. For this, we need to first, even before we could go to the financial institutions, we need to have enterprise as our customers. Because we can always go and acquire the distributors, dealers in an inorganic manner, but we wanted to do in a healthy manner, because these are qualified leads. If Asia Tech Journal is having 1,000 partners, it's better we acquire those 1,000 partners through it rather than we going. So what essentially we are doing is, I'll take example of one particular customer. They're one of the largest biscuit manufacturers in the world, red biscuits and dairy. It's Britannia. So they have around 6,500 to 7,000 distributors with them. So if a distributor A wants to buy 30 lakh rupees worth of biscuits, they will buy it from Britannia, and they have to pay either on day 1, day 2, or day 3. They have to pay the money to Britannia. And basically what happens, these distributor dealers, not necessarily or always credit rich, right? They currently do have a supply chain credit solution, but these are based on the overdraft limit and cash credit limits, or they would be having other kind of credit patterns. So what we are doing is, we are ensuring that this person on the third day, when the company has to pay to Britannia, instead of they paying to Britannia, we are enabling something known as a payment mechanism. So we call B2B BNPL is not just a credit mechanism; it's a future of payments. So what Britannia would do is, Britannia would nudge our financial partner. It could be a Kotak or Axis or HDFC. They will nudge them, telling the invoice of ABC distributor is there and it's payment ready. And the bank would directly give the payment on behalf of the distributor. And the distributor or the dealer does not need to give any collateral. They don't even need to have a bank account with these financial institutions. So that is one side. And for this to happen, we are essentially doing 2 more things. The distributor dealer needs to have a digital avatar. That is A. So all the 6,500, 7,000 distributor, we ensure that they are being onboarded in our platform, and our platform connects with the organization ERP. So this entire onboarding even includes, if, for example, you don't have a distributor, we also have something known as scouting, a market survey solution, which will help you to scout for the best distributor for a particular region that you want. And all the way to including even, is there any criminal records, criminal check needs to be done, any court cases pending on this distributor dealers. So we do a 360-degree assessment. And we ensure that the person is onboarded. Moment the person is onboarded, we do a complete financial health assessment of the distributor. We take the ITR, we take the GST, we take the P&L account, and most importantly, the last 12 or 24 months of transactional data with the enterprise we take. Okay. And we use the AI and ML and a proprietary underwriting methodology. We have one of the underwriting gurus who created underwriting, or the chief risk officer across India. We have onboarded that person. His name is Prakash Dara. So with their team, what we are doing is we are scoring, and the first level of underwriting is happening at the enterprise level.
Interesting.
Okay. And the enterprise then gauges the creditworthiness of this particular distributor. Okay. Then the person gets enabled for BNPL. What is also happening is, a lot of enterprise today we are getting, they are telling BNPL is very important for us, but more than BNPL, what you are doing is you are making us aware of the true worth of this person, because ours is not a static score. It's not a PDF report that you get. It's something that is going to keep learning every week, every day, every month, and keep telling you and triggering you if something is going to happen. So what happens is, usually there is a 18 to 28% attrition in the distributors in the enterprise. Okay. In one of the companies which will soon announce the market study, the attrition rate has come from 18 to 28% to 7.5%, which means this is a extremely qualified, high quality data, high performing data of distributors underwritten at the enterprise level. Now, when you switch the gear to the financial institutions, you are going to them with a qualified data of high performing people who are having high quality credit, who are performing well. So it's much easier for the underwriters in the banks to appreciate this quality, and it becomes a straight through buy now pay later. And that's where we ensure that they get attractive interest rate arbitrage, right? And it fuels them. So at a high level, I will take a pause. This is the first level of business model where we are connecting this trinity. And that's where I said we are a cusp of enterprise SaaS and fintech, and we want to be known as somebody powering the future of payments, right? BNPL is a mode of payment, not just a credit.
Right. No, I mean, Raghu, that's absolutely spectacular, right? I think the way you kind of broken it down, it just makes so much more sense, right? I think this is also mechanics which one, of course, takes care of risk, right? The second is, this entire ecosystem, right, from a manufacturer to a national distributor to a local distributor, right, to a retailer. I think it's so fractured when it comes to the entire sequence and flow of capital. Right, I think bringing in and introducing such mechanisms just improve the velocity of cash, right, within the ecosystem, which is just so much more important in the entire scheme of things, right? Now, coming to a very critical point, right? Now, when you are doing a distributor, right, a typically distributor is somebody, in an FMCG like market, they work with very, very slender margins, very thin margins, right? And what they tend to do is that, because of the infrastructure that they've created, right, so go down, logistics, warehouses, people, right? They tend to basically then be a distributor for many, many other products, right? So essentially what I'm trying to sort of get to is that, because of such a spread, the risk in a distributor and his or her ability to consistently pay becomes very, very different, right? The other added problem in this ecosystem is that the consumer behavior is changing very fast, right? I mean, especially post 2020, the risk in a business is just phenomenally high. Now, I agree and I understand that, India is a very large market, tier 2, tier 3 still sort of has that, element, that is not a market which is gotten disrupted, right? But, we're in an era of a lot of information, technology, youngsters. I mean, we enjoy our demographic, right? We're most of our demographic. Now, the purchase habits are shifting very quickly. D2C is something which is coming up much faster than we anticipated to, right? And it's something which is across the board. What's your scene of it, right? I mean, I see this to be a very fluid situation. While, of course, BNPL continues to stay important, but I believe that eventually brands are moving into a direction where they're going to be building a lot of direct relationship with the, with the consumers directly. What's your sense of it, right? I think there are enough of models that are coming in that are trying to disrupt this entire, supply chain and the traditional distribution ecosystem that exists. What's your sense of it? How do you see it?
Yeah, very, very pertinent question, Ashu. Three things you asked, right? One is about what if the distributors and dealers default. Two is it's moving more towards the alternate economy or more towards the consumer economy. Okay. Right. Three, how is the disruption happening? See, as far as the what we are doing very unique also, Ashu, is we are doing a distributor financial and behavior analysis, which very rarely anybody across the world have done. Few of the European and American companies have done, and we are learning from them. So what's happening is a lot of distributors, okay, while there is attrition, which I told about, these are all very, very, in a sense, very small distributors. If you look at the established distributors, we went and we did an interview of almost 100 plus distributors across India. They are distributors for a particular company for generations. That is their bread and butter. So their propensity to default is very less.
Right.
And they genuinely need to expand. When they want to expand, okay, already they have tapped all the possible credit sources. What is left is probably their jewelry and their home, which also in a lot of cases is already pawned or already kept as a security, right? So they clearly understand what we are bringing to table is something that is not only going to help them grow. The reason the enterprise is extremely keen is, I will talk about a very large infrastructure company manufacturing multiple things, including pipes and other stuff. They have a vision to triple their revenue in next 3 years. Okay. And assume they are at 5,000 crore rupees and they want to go to 15,000 crore rupees. They have a large dealer ecosystem. It's very difficult for them to fund, nor they can get a project financing from any other bank because who is going to underwrite? Nobody is going to underwrite, right? And when it was more of an inbound reach. When they understood our proposition and solution, they said, this is something very exciting because you are allowing me to focus on my business while you are taking care of the distributors and the dealers and the financial institutions. So you're
and my cash flow secure.
Yeah, they're telling you are taking the major problem that is the hindrance for the growth, the top line. You are enabling directly to grow my top line. So they said, how can we help you grow? That's the discussion the CEO said. That is one data point. Two, if you fast forward, there are a lot of companies today, they don't know to take a name. I'm not talking about just e-commerce, who wants to eliminate the whole ecosystem of distributors in the country and work with the retailers, and they want to be the super distributors by bringing technology and reach the consumer, right? You see, these are all established tenets of the society. Okay, we should respect why they are. Okay, you can always go and work with the retailers directly, but we know the limitations because we are working with the retailer. We have a huge target of onboarding retailers. They have their own limitations. Okay, and these distributors are somebody whom we have to enable. We have to make them grow. We have to make them more tech savvy. We have to ensure that they're ready for Web 3.1 metaverse, for lack of word. Because once they are into the digital journey and everything they do have a digital traction, trust me, their ability to grow not only in India, also tie up with a lot of MNCs outside of India increases. Okay. So tomorrow, once they have a digital avatar, and it's a journey, right? It is not something that is going to happen overnight. The distributors and the retailers have to enable and onboard this digital journey. Once this supply chain is there, trust me, most of the enterprise working with us, the dream of D2C is a reality. It's a reality. Because they have an established supply chain. They don't have to work for an alternative to support them. They can use the same supply chain to tap. While there'll be a lot of disruptions and a lot of startups coming and doing it is great, right? More and more companies coming and disrupting. All of us are going to learn and we are going to find the best and shortest and cost effective possible route to reach out to the end customer. So that is the disruption I'm seeing.
When you're saying what you're saying, right? I am in my mind, of course, I've put out the question, right? In my mind, I'm just thinking of what a powerful network that you're creating, right? Where you know the quality of the distributor, right? And that's just so much more important, right? And his or her intention to pay up, right? I think that's a phenomenal network that you're creating in the process, right? I think which tomorrow it becomes literally a plug-and-play solution, right? Any business that wants to sort of get to, say, for example, sitting in north of India, right, to Chennai, without any element of fear of any wrongdoing, issues of trust, right, can just be tackled very, very quickly, right? That's just so powerful at many levels, right? While you're saying what you're saying, I'm just kind of trying to sort of I'm just building that picture in my mind, visualizing how eventually this is going to play out, right? And it seems phenomenal, right? Now, another important question in the industry things, right? Now, there's something that you're working on. So there's something called an active score, right? Now you're building on, you're working on the score, something that you alluded to in one of your earlier points as well, right? Now, what is this about, right? Is this about quantitative and qualitative parameters both? Is this a credit rating or a credit underwriting system that most of the financial institutions use? What is unique about this, right? Because I think this is essentially what really helps you understand the behavior that you're kind of speaking about of these distributors, right? And what you mentioned was that this is dynamic in nature, right? I'd love to understand the construct of it. What are the elements that really go into it? What are the things that make it unique vis-a-vis, say, some of the work that the competition is doing? If you could, share a little bit of that, it'll be very interesting.
See, the credit scoring is in multiple parameters. I told you about the whole digital onboarding that we do. As part of the digital onboarding, we anyway do the behavioral assessment. So one part of the score comes from all the metrics that we take from the onboarding.
Sure.
Second is most of the credit scoring institute uses the data freely available. That is
Right.
like income tax returns of the person last 2 years, your GST returns. Okay, you go to the balance sheet. Okay, these are the usual classical data they use, but most of them don't go to the PNL because they might not have the access to PNL. So they stick only with the GST data. They stick only with the ITR data. So we use all other available data, be it ITR, GST, last 2 years balance sheet, and most importantly, all the transactional data. For example, you spoke about a distributor will be a distributor for more than one company.
Correct.
Okay, so the distributor is going to give me the data for only one company for which we have been interested. Besides, the person is going to give 2 or 3 more. The quality of the credit of that person increases. So what we are ensuring and institutionalizing is underwriting never happens at enterprise level.
Right.
When we say underwriting, we only look at the financial institutions. For us, at any point of time where a buy and sell happens,
right,
in a B2B, buy and sell happens, I think
right,
there should be a credit rating or a credit score. It's a transaction
right,
for us, and it should be a qualified transaction.
Right.
Correct? So with these parameters, we put our proprietary AI and ML algorithm, and we ensure that we also work with the enterprise to understand how currently are these people being credit rated. Okay, if a organization is having, say, 30% attrition of the distributors and dealers, why a 30% attrition is happening? Okay. Apart from this, you understand, we also have other parameters like where is the place of business, the physical infrastructure, the entire criminal check, all those. There are goes and no goes, right? So it's a mix of all these things which helps us with the financial health assessment and the credit score. And the beauty of this is currently, if you look at the enterprise, they take a Dun & Bradstreet score or a CRISIL or CRIF score. Most of these score are a PDF document that come and lands in your laptop or desktop. Okay, and you look at it. But what we are giving is a platform.
Right.
Okay, where they can log in, and it's a fast-moving dimension, not just a slow-moving dimension. Every week, every day, the transaction is being done between the distributors and other entities. Every time there's a refresh in the GST return, the person has a real-time access. Okay, your credit rating can go or come down. And also, we are following something known as a feedback loop to the distributors. If I'm a distributor, my credit rating is, say, on a score of 0 to 100, it is only 60, which ideally should be 80. I should let the person know. A person who does not have a rating today does not mean he will not have a rating tomorrow. The person was not eligible yesterday, but after one successful month of a GST returns and proper filing, maybe the person had got a late payment, the person is eligible. So it's a real-time refreshing one that happens at the enterprise level. So that is A. B, what we are doing, we are not telling the banks it's a competitive product what we are giving to you. Okay. We respect the underwriting ecosystem that is there in India. It's one of the finest in the world, right? But the underwriting ecosystem has not changed in last 1 or 2 decades. So what we are telling is, while you use your own proprietary algorithm, you look at other scores. Why don't you also have our score as a reference? Look at the value that we bring to the table. So we want to give this something which is complementing the financial institutions to underwrite better. And also in the future, they can always look back. I used your score, and I also have other mechanism like your CRIF and Dun & Bradstreet and my own score. You can always fast forward, and after 3 months, you can look back. I underrated. I did underwriting of, say, 60 people. How did they score? We bring that real-time data analysis to play. We also we're working on to understand how we can do predictive analysis in the future. How can we predict failed payments? How can we predict fraud? How can we prevent anti-money laundering? And these are all established things. It's not that we are the first person to bring to the table. Most of these solutions are already existing across the world. I have done in my previous organization. But we are putting a layer so that it is actually put to real-time business use for both the enterprise, distributors, and at the financial institution level. So that is what is making this entire scoring a different proposition. And what we have also taken a decision and we are doing is, while the scoring is an integral part of the platform, we are also creating scoring as a separate business unit. Because this is something that is a need. everywhere. So, for example, you have Asia Tech Journal. You might be having 100 partners whom you are working with.
Right.
Nothing to do with the buy now, pay later. But once you know these 100 partners qualify on a credit rating, not just a financial credit worthiness, plus another 10, 20 more performance on a law of the land, compliance, criminal check, all those parameters you come to know, you are more than happy to partner with that person, which is not existing today in the ecosystem.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, I have a bunch of questions on that. I mean, this is a space that I understand really well, right? I spend a lot of time, working in this space, right? Now, the thing is, I completely agree with what you're saying, right? That the financial services ecosystem, the business, the banking ecosystem really is not changed, right? The credit underwriting, for example, has not changed, right? In the last 2.5 years, I think it's very two-dimensional. It's very on the spot. It's not dynamic as we would want it to, right? And I think the current country that we are in is very, very dynamic, right? Now, I want to talk a little about competition, right? Now, there's like a couple of other people who are essentially in the business territory and who are into B2B BNPL, right? That's the category that they're going after. Okay. Now, some of these players, if you look at it, right, they're doing a lot of. So, for example, the kind of data that you're talking about is data that is available for pretty much everybody, right? Now, this is not data which is unique to you in many ways, right? This is something which is available in public, is available in public domain. And depending on the willingness of the business owner, they can furnish those details, right? But a lot of these other players, there are two very, very smart things that they're doing, right? So they are taking a lot of, for example, consumer side consumption data. In a distributor ecosystem or a retail ecosystem, that's not necessarily possible, right? So there could be a Britannia which is running on that distribution chain, for example. You will have a limited visibility in terms of how the consumer feels about it, right? And then for that to be factored into your overall, say, ranking rating process that you kind of build, right? Now, in a game that some of these guys are, for example, using, right? A lot of these guys are now partnered, for example, with Zomato. Some of them are partnered with Swiggy, right? And they're now kind of, offering similar credit possibilities to, players who are on that entire distribution ecosystem, right? They are, for example, factoring in a lot of those, for example, consumer reviews, right? In many ways, order frequencies. So, the possibility and the dynamics are very, very different than the kind of dynamics that you are doing, right? So, I want to understand, and the second part of it is they are ring fenced in many ways, right? Where the collection is happening by the player, the partner that they have, so that the money is secure, right? The delinquency really sort of goes down. Vis-a-vis your ecosystem is still very, very open in that sense, right? What's your sense of it? How do you get to see that, right? Like I said, the consumer side insight is still not available in your, for example, the entire supply chain ecosystem that you built, right? And second, it's still an open ecosystem, right? From a collection standpoint, that still is a big problem. How do you tackle these two?
Yeah. So, see, the consumer side is very, very different, you rightly say. And what we are doing is, for lack of words, we are also enterprising. The enterprisation of distributors and retailers are happening. We are making them more structured, more predictable. We are not going and telling them, hey, here is a technology company coming with a technology product you have to use. No.
Right.
We are here to solve your business problem. See, the person who's a retailer or the distributor who is in the second tier or third tier, for that person, what is needed is, can I get an extra 5 lakh rupees next 1 week that is going to help me pay in time and get more business? Okay. That real-time problem we are solving, and we are telling them, you will get it, provided anyway you have all these 10 parameters. In case you are not qualified, we are just telling you don't have to wait for another 12 years.
Sure.
Just do these 4 or 5 things right. Next month, you will be eligible. And all the financial institutions, currently we are partnered only with banks. The next level is NBFCs. All the banks are truly appreciating this methodology, because for the banks, the major stuff is, while they have other products, they have never been able to go and reach out to all of these people in the way we are reaching. And
with again, confidence.
What we are doing is we are giving qualified. It's already digitally onboarded, digitally rated, digitally vetted. Okay, and what we say is, a person who does not have a credit score today is also a future customer for the bank.
Right.
Okay, because we are constantly monitoring all the transactions, because it is not a static one. It is not that I did a scoring for Ashu and Raghu, I forget it. No, we are constantly monitoring. Ashu has come to the system, Raghu has come to the system. We are monitoring, we are ensuring that the scoring is evolving. And what we are also doing is, the banks are the entities who, in this particular case, is taking the risk, not Actyv.ai, not the enterprise.
Right.
And because it is a bread and butter for the distributor, if the distributor defaults on the payment to bank, the distributor gets deboarded from the enterprise. So one of our core solution is also appointment and termination. Termination of distributors is also a huge problem in the enterprise because it takes 3 to 6 months in a lot of cases, and it impacts your top line.
Absolutely, it does. Interesting. No, I think I'm going to give it to you 100%, right? When it comes to bringing in that extra added layer, right? I think the banking financial service ecosystem is not as savvy. I think a bunch of actually fintechs have really brought in that sensitivity, right, in terms of that agility which is required to be extending loans and so on and so forth, right? The way they're plugged into this ecosystem, right? Be it on the consumer side, be it on the business side of it, right? So I completely give it to you. I think what you're really doing in the process is, like I said at the outset of a conversation, you're improving the viability of a lot of these distributors, and eventually then taking to the financial institution, saying that here are these guys more sustainable, improved, institutionalized in many ways, and they can be longer term relationships for the banking institutions, right? And I think that's an incredible job that you are kind of doing in the process, Raghu. Raghu, consumer side question, right? Now that is another very big risk that at a larger macro level we are kind of running, and in a way, this is a question that I ask to a lot of people, right? Especially who are in any form and way within the physical distribution ecosystem, right? Now, what is happening is D2C is something which is picking up a massive amount of momentum, right? We are seeing a huge sort of a shift, right? Brands today want to know what their consumer is, right? They don't want to have the kind of hierarchy and the kind of the channels of distribution, right? Brands want to today directly talk to the consumer. The good part is 2020 has been like a year of disruption. It's been a year of revelation. The good part was that the infrastructure came together, right? The logistics, for example, came together. Now, a lot of these D2C companies are using similar logistics and then shipping something from, say, a Delhi to a Cherrapunji in a matter of a few days, right? From, say, Chennai or Bangalore to some other Kashmir, right? In just a matter of days, which is phenomenal, right? The brands today also have an access into a lot of consumer side data, right? And their consumption habits and so on and so forth, right? That brings in a very different kind of an agility. We still have in India, which operates at many levels, makes it very difficult so brands will at some point will have to eventually deal with a lot of the distributed ecosystem. And this is not something which is going away for the next 3 to 5 years, right? But there is a certain shift which is coming in. The more penetration and the more disposable income comes in, aspirational value is going to go up. People will eventually move out from such settings into ordering a lot more online, directly engaging with the brands, or for example, larger platforms like Amazon's and the Flipkarts of the world and so forth, right? What's your sense of it? How do you see that? Is that a shift which matters to you right now? Or is this a problem for a different time, right? I think India is too large for it to be solved for right now. And you have your clear priorities. I'd love to understand that.
Yeah. I just missed putting a point in the previous question. I'm going to connect both regarding the banking that you asked. See, one point is we are working with almost all the banks today. Either we have signed partnership or going to sign the partnership. Okay.
Sure.
While they have not changed in last 2 decades, what we should give to them is they are doing phenomenal amount of job. And from their point of view, it's very simple. Every day there are 20 new fintechs or startups who comes to them for engagement.
Right.
Okay. Problem of plenty. Okay. We want them to change. We are telling why there's a great company. Why not partnering with that company? How do they know which is a great company? Every day, see, they have a day job to do, and there are every day 20 to 30 startups reaching out to them in all fairness. So it's a problem of plenty, right? It's problem of plenty. It's about making them understand our solution is something which is going to help you, and not that you have to take the solution and you have to put another 50-member team for 6 months and do a special project. There are already 1,000 projects they're working on, so much of stress. So they're doing a great amount of job. And in our interaction, once it's the difficult part is to reach to the right person and make them understand. Moment they understand, they're very appreciative. They are telling 100%. This is a disruption much needed. You tell us what you want to do. Okay. And everything within the ecosystem of the compliance and the regulations, they're extremely happy to cooperate, which is something very surprising because we have never seen this in the past, right? We always carry with the feature they are going to be rigid, they're not going to help. But this shift is extremely important. And to the next question that you asked, where I'm telling is, again, the whole D2C is again a problem of plenty. 2 years back, pre-COVID, a lot of people would not have thought about D2C. D2C means e-commerce, ordering from Amazon or Flipkart or Myntra or Nykaa, right? Now, any two, if offline you and me will speak, we'll say, can we open a D2C company online, right?
Right.
But India as a company, India as a country is still run on brick and mortar business. Okay? It is not going to go. We all only focus on the tier A cities, right? Okay, we are not looking at the power other cities come. Okay, a blockbuster movie before 6 months always used to come from tier A cities with a turnover of 100 to 150 crores. Then it is a overseas revenue. If you really want to achieve 500 to 1000 crores in India, it is tier 2, tier 3. Okay,
I agree.
Pushpa, RRR, KGF2 is the example. Tier A did not contribute. It's always tier 2. So the power that we have to unlock is not just the top 10 cities in India. It's about everywhere else. And that comes with the trusted ecosystem that has been built over a period of time. Not to take the thunder of D2C companies, because we are only talking about 5% where the D2C companies and the e-commerce companies have penetrated. The 90% of the companies are still following the traditional ecosystem.
Right.
All the enterprises that we work with also have an ambition that they need not be astonished or worried about the emergence of D2C, and they don't want to spend money and energies in creating. While they want to invest in that angle, they also want to solidify their own supply channel. They also want to allocate some money for innovation. They also want to have somebody who can disrupt their own ecosystem and make it better. And that's the league we follow in, right? We're not going to create a parallel one. We want to work with the enterprise, and we want to make them more stronger, more powerful, okay, more arm power to them, and ensure that is there a D2C solution that they can empower themselves or tie up with somebody among the enterprises who can do. If one of the enterprises has demystified, it's our job to take them to other enterprises.
Interesting. No, I think you're doing that a lot already, Raghu. I think nobody can take that away from you, right? I think you're really bringing in that very required sensibility, the operating aspects, right? I think that's just so much more important. And I think I've had the chance of speaking with many founders, right? There are few who are actually contributing to the cause and improving, for example, the financial institutions in many ways, right? I think that you kind of doing it phenomenally, right? Usually people cut it as a fintech. I think you're cutting it very, very differently. I think there's a core emphasis that is on improvement of the overall operations, right? And then credit becoming sustainable, right? That credit today is not the difficult part, right? The problem is the sustainability, and I think that's essentially what we're impacting with Actyv.ai, right? And that's absolutely phenomenal as a cause. That was towards the end of our conversation, right?
I'm taking the word from you, sustainable credit.
I don't want these conversations, right? Because there's just so much of learning, and there's just so much of to talk and know, right? I agree with a lot of those points that you highlighted, right? That tier 2 is not going away. Tier 2 will continue to be here for the longest time, right? I mean, such is our economy, right? We're so fragmented that we need the touch and feel, right? That's not going to go away anywhere in the next 22 decades also. Now, it becomes important to understand, what are the next 2 years like. You have many challenges at hand, right? There are many industries that you're solving for, but what are the priority sectors that you've identified for yourself? Next 2 years, what are the? I would have loved to ask you a 5-year question, but I think we're just in 2 dynamic times, right? So I would sort of have a 2-year question, and would love you to give us a sense of what is that you're aiming for.
Yeah, so Ashu, one of my favorite stuff is one is within, one is outside. Within, it's about building one of the finest enterprise SaaS company ever to have been built. Thanks to one of my best friend in the industry, Daniel Dinas, my ex-CEO in UiPath, a lot of learnings from him and that company, right? So my vision that I'm driving is one day is 1 week, 1 week is 1 month, 1 month is 1 year. How can I get 40 years worth of classical enterprise SaaS company, the growth they get in 4 years? So you have to model the organization around it. It's all about organization design, getting right set of people, empowering them, not micromanaging them, and most importantly, culture. We are building the organization on the principles of humility, integrity, respect, and transparency. At the same time, we'll be bold and we'll be fast. We don't want to compromise on this. These are the first citizens for us. And we want to build one of the best organizations built on these values. That is within. And once you look outside, the sectors that we are focusing on, FMCG is a natural sector. We also give a different name to it. We call it as a packaged food industry. Packaged food industry is going to be 6 lakh crore rupees in next 4 years, right? It's like a mammoth. If you look at the numbers, I'm resisting not to tell the numbers because people, when they see the interview, will think I'm a crazy person. That's a kind of
we gotta save some of that for our next conversation, right? We're gonna save some of that for our next conversation.
Packaged food industry is one we are focusing on. We have just now created energy as a vertical.
Right.
Okay. And and we are talking about buy now pay later, and the ticket size in buy now pay later for B2B in energy will be very different, right? It's like tens and tens of crore rupees, correct? Then we are looking at startup as a vertical. Then we are trying to hive off scoring as a separate vertical. So these are going to be, and when I said startup, and there are a lot of sweet spots that we'll be announcing. We just launched our IPL campaign around a month back, so more campaigns to come. So we really want to live up to the value of being a category creator, okay, and an industry leader. And we really want to ensure that we are solving the real-time problems. We are actually creating value to every entity, and we will be very soon announcing the metrics in which we want to evaluate ourselves as a company. So these are some of the key items, and there is also a lot of inbound investor interest that keeps coming. So at some point of time, we have to decide how much to raise, what to raise, from whom to raise. So those things will naturally happen in next 2-3 months. We'll make the announcement as and when it happens. So these are the critical priorities, right? And acquiring enterprises, next 2 years, if you say 1,000 enterprise logos is a no-brainer, and at least operating in 5 to 6 more countries, revenue generating. So these are going to be
So that's a phenomenal aspiration, right? I think the energy is very visible, right? It's infectious at many levels, right? Who could say, you've been in the industry for such a long time, right? This is a vigor, this is that of a college, somebody who's just out of college, right? In many ways, right? But I think this is vigor with experience, which is just so much more important, right? And I think it's possibly a lot of this is going to become a playbook for many professionals who are out there, right? Who for some reason are on the fence, right? There are some who have the courage to cross over, and there is a large set of them who are on the fence, thinking that they could possibly do something outright, but I think innovation step in, right? I think this is going to be a big motivation for them at many levels. My last question, it's very cliched, right? But I still want to ask this. I think every founder's journey is very unique. He or she has something to give away, right, to the community. It could be a suggestion, it could be an advice, it could be a learning in the process, right? Now you're on both the sides of it. You are on the investing side of it. You've been a professional, and you are an entrepreneur, who's really cracking it fast, right? Who's been able to, kind of identify his own niche, gone out and very quickly built a phenomenal team, raised capital, and are scaling this now, right? If you had to give out any advice, what would that be to, say, fellow entrepreneurs, on anything that you think is a critical priority, and they should really look at it first as they solve the problem?
See, I personally like to keep it simple, right? We should, first of all, never over-amplify and make the problem a complex. It's about keeping it as simple as possible. That is one. Two, I really feel with whatever is happening in the global economy, all of us are privileged to be part of an ecosystem known as Bharat, India.
Right.
And the cusp, a change is happening. It's about all the established entrepreneurs like us to help budding entrepreneurs be successful. And when I say successful, it is not just giving $50,000, $100,000 worth of funding, right? It's also about hand-holding them.
Right.
There's a need for us to churn out lots and lots of millionaires. Both value and valuation are important, but we really need to fuel. So what I keep telling is, a lot of companies got listed recently. Assume somebody makes 5 or 10 crore rupees out of that listing. The world has changed. Nobody is going to go and buy a property for more than 75 lakhs to 1 crore rupees. Rest of the money is not going to be an FD. They are going to invest. They are going to invest in startups. And that is already happening. That is a phenomenal stuff that is happening to India. So my stuff is, let's solve real world problem. Okay. Let's build cash flow positive business. It's a humble request for all the entrepreneurs. At the end of the day, sustainable business means generating profits for all of us, right? It's not only the company, everybody. You can't be perpetually running companies in loss. Okay. Sustainable and profitable business are extremely important. We have to set right business models for the future. And most importantly, I always say, don't stick on your chair. If there is somebody who is better than you, who can run the show, allow it to them. Be advisor. That's what I always say. It's always look out for somebody who's better than you and build an organization on that. So that is the most important. Never be insecure.
Phenomenal. Raghu, now these are some of these points one doesn't really sort of come across on each day, right? I come from a school of thought which is very similar, right? You're not gonna your limitation, your requirement for money is very limited, right? I think all of us have a larger responsibilities to create, wealth and happiness for a lot of other people around us, right? I think there's just so much more important, and that's essentially what you're highlighting in what you said, right? I think this is absolutely phenomenal, spectacular at many levels. Raghu, thank you so much for doing this, right? I mean, I honestly don't want this session to end. But I have just so much more that I'm going to carry into our next session, hopefully soon, which we're going to have. Where we're going to deliberate more on, a variety of factors at Actyv.ai and of your angel investing portfolio. Thank you so much for doing this. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks, Ashu. Fantastic discussion. Really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Thank you.